Now, a filmmaker and video blogger is bringing a 35-mile walk of the London Overground route to life in his new documentary. John Rogers was inspired by an author who spent a day exploring the changing landscape of London and wanted to retrace his steps. Well, I'm pleased to say John joins me in the studio now. Thank you very much indeed, John, for coming in and speaking to us. Now, this is all about exploring the city and how it's changed over the years. So what are some of the things that you discovered on your journey?
On this journey, I think you can see now is a great moment of transition in London. This is probably one of the biggest moments of change happening in London now, with whole-scale development happening for a number of reasons, not all of it positive. In fact, actually, one of the things that emerges from the film, you ask questions about how London is changing and in whose benefit it's changing for. But it's a great way doing this kind of walk, and what Iain Sinclair discovered in his book London Overground that we based the film on, with Iain, is the Overground network, the newly completed circuit, is a great single journey which gives you a kind of snapshot of what is happening in London at the moment.
And the Overground line I find to be so complicated. It's so complex. It's so big and it covers so many different areas. I mean, how did you begin on, on your journey? What were the plans you took before you embarked on it?
Yeah, well, this is very different to the journey in the book of Iain's, called London Overground, that it does it in a day. So we did it over a year. So we did it in small sections. So the circuit we walk is not the entire Ginger Line, which stretches out obviously to like where goes out to Barking on one side. We did the loop that was newly completed about 4 years ago. So we start in Haggerston, where Iain lives, and then we go south over the river. But then we did it in sections. So we got as far as Peck and Queen's Road, then we went over to Willesden Junction, and then we come back and we go just to Dalston Junction, and then we walk north to Hampstead, and then we filled in the bit around Clapham Junction to Wandsworth Road, and then we went back and did Brompton Cemetery, and we did it in sections like that over the year through the changing seasons, and it really gives you a very different flavour of what's happening in different parts of London. Things that you would never see otherwise. When we went to Willesden Junction with the legendary filmmaker and author Chris Pettit, who made one of the great road movies, Radio On, and we walked along the side of Old Oak Common, which is now one of the biggest development sites in London. It's just this raised earth, just this enormous patch of bare land, and this little row of old railway workers' cottages that are hanging on, threatened with demolition. And you see these kind of transitions, and you see that all around. I mean, particularly, Iain sort of pinpoints the metaphor for the Overground is the block of new build flats, the artisan bakery selling bread for £5 a loaf, the gym and the hire bike. The contrast. Yeah, but we also did find elements of the old kind of industries, that the car breakers' yards and the workshops that happen. So you see all the phases of life in London when you travel around the Overground, and also it seems as well a lot of these communities that are building up around the Overground are defined by how long it takes you to get away from them to somewhere else as well. All the advertising is based on how long it takes you to get to Liverpool Street, rather than going, look, isn't it great to be in Peckham Rye Lane,
That's a very, very interesting point, actually, that you've touched on there. Now, you did touch on that very briefly, but Iain Sinclair, who's the author, who, of course, inspired you, and also a few filmmakers joined you, didn't they, along the route?
Yeah, I mean, astonishingly, we were joined by a guy called Andrew Cotting, who you may have known. He made a film called Swan Down, where he rode a swan pedalo with Iain from Hastings to the Olympic Park, which of course at the time when it was like a high security installation, they now bizarrely have swan pedalos in the Olympic Park, which is just mad. And Andrew joined us, and Andrew's really the reason I picked up a camera in the first place to make films. Before that I was focused on writing. I saw a film called Galavan 21 years ago, and then started making films, and Andrew, dressed as a straw bear, a folkloric character from Lincolnshire, a place called Whittlesea, and he walked along the Old Kent Road and in Brompton Cemetery dressed as the straw bear, which you can imagine on the Old Kent Road, sort of rush hour. It was probably the most
unusual.
It was the most astonishing thing I think I've ever filmed in my life.
Brilliant. And just very quickly, John, where can people watch the film?
People can see the film. It's on Wednesday in Leytonstone, at the Leytonstone Pop-Up Cinema in Leytonstone Library, and on the 26th of November it's on at the Swedenborg Institute, at the Swedenborg Film Festival.
John, thank you very much indeed for coming on to London Live this afternoon. Still ahead on London Live.